In the dream tonight.
Yep, from home.
Oh yeah.
Okay, guys, welcome to tonight's edition of the CarrGuy and SixFan show. We've got a very special guest tonight. And before we go too much further, I am going to let everybody introduce themselves. So next door over here, we've got Straight SixFan.
Yeah, so I'm Grant Tommy, Straight SixFan, the SixFan of this operation. Welcome everybody to yet another Thursday night of the CarrGuy and SixFan show. So that would leave us with our special guest down below me, over this way. So we'll let him introduce himself.
Hey, so I'm Ryan. I have a channel. It's a car channel as well. It's called Boost Rodeo. We focus on a lot of different vehicles, but the main reason that we kind of started it was trying to inspire other car guys who either have kind of lost their way and things have gotten busy in their lives, you know, kids, families, jobs, all the things where it just kind of fell out of touch with it and it's missing. We're trying to inspire them to get back into it because that's exactly what happened to us and why we started the channel.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I really enjoy that story. And one of the things that I think, I'm jumping ahead of myself. I want to start talking about your channel right away. But before we do that, Ryan, just bear with me. We generally like to start the show by going through the chat, making sure we're saying hey to everybody who is in there. So Grant, why don't you jump over there if you can see it and see who is in the chat with us tonight.
Yeah, I can. And actually, because of work from home circumstance, I have a borrowed second monitor from work. So I've got the actual live stream up. But from the top, we have America Bumper to Bumper, Eford Garage, Will's Wheels, King Eric the Great, the First, Darren's Gray Goat, and let's see if anybody, that's Trucker Dave there at the end. So welcome everybody into the live stream. Yes, we are very excited to have Ryan from Boost Rodeo on tonight. So Jason, I'll swing it on back to you.
Sure. So I guess the very first thing that I wanted to talk about was Ryan, you participated in the solo B-roll challenge with Grant and myself and a couple of other guys, and it was a flop for the most part as far as our intended goal for that. But one of the things that I caught from your video was your true sense of family. When you jumped into the old Comet and you had that picture of your dad, almost choked me up. Like it seems like you're a family man, and so tell me a little bit about that story. About, you know, maybe you've got that dad story you want to tell us.
Sure. I actually kind of have it on both sides. So on my dad's dad was a police officer, and then later in life was a mechanic. So he was always wrenching on stuff and working on cars. My dad was the same way. I mean, the list of cars that man has owned is just astounding. I mean, I think his first car was a 41 Dodge Coupe. He's owned a Henry Jag, 57 and 56 Fords, 62, 57 Corvettes. He had a 66 wow. Shelby Mustang. I mean, the list of cars that guy sold will make most people cry. And the stories he has are amazing. So I kind of got that through my dad. And then on my other side, my mom's side, my grandfather was also a mechanic for a good part of his life and always into cars. And that Comet actually was one that he gifted to me before he passed. So that car is very special to me.
And one other thing, Ryan, so on top of that, that one of your videos right before the solo B-roll challenge was you kind of had some fun with what it's like to wrench with. Of course, you have a couple kids, and how that sometimes finds its way into the garage. So that's one of the just the whole way you put together that story was it was great storytelling. But so let's talk about it from the flip side of that. What does it mean now to have to raise kids with you in the garage?
Well, first, it's definitely harder, as you said. And the funny thing about that video is it actually, we started out that day like, okay, we're going to get the Corolla fixed because we had recently broke the axle and had a lot of issues going on with it. And so we're like, okay, let's get the cameras set up and we'll start working. We started working. The kids came out. I'm hungry. We're like, okay, let's go get them food because our wives had gone and they were off doing something that day. So we had the kids for the whole day. And it was just one thing after another. Like, we couldn't get this video done because one of them was hungry, one of them needed changed, one of them something. And then finally, like halfway through the day, it was like 2 PM, and we hadn't got literally anything done. We're like, this is the video. I mean, this is really what it's like to have kids and work on cars. Is it's hectic. It never goes the way you want. And so we just completely flipped and said, well, we've got all these interruptions on camera already. Let's just keep going with it. And so we kind of turned that into the video and made something out of a flop. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, well, I mean, if I wouldn't have known any better, I mean, it looked like it was more planned than that. So fantastic job on that. But you said we were out in the garage, and I know that Boost Rodeo's channel it's not just about you. So tell us a little bit about the partnership that you have going on in the other half of the equation for Boost Rodeo.
Sure. So I'd always wanted to start a channel. I mean, back when I was in college and working on cars and stuff, but I had that same thing that kind of blocks a lot of creators that said, oh, I don't have a cool enough car. I'm broke. I'm in college. I'm doing like minimal mods. I'm just doing the things I can afford. No one's going to want to watch that. So I pushed it off. Then later I was in between jobs and had some downtime before I was starting a new one. And I thought, I should really start that channel again. And I just never did it. And what finally pushed me over the edge was we had gone to a couple winter rallies at Spokane at the track here. And they've got a full like 2.5 mile road course. And they'd open it up in the winter and let people come drive on it in the snow, which was just amazing. But we were out there in our daily drivers, which were fairly nice cars. I was driving an Evo X at the time. And so we were having a blast out there, but the whole time you're just terrified of putting your daily into a snowbank. And so we ended up going in, me and my brother-in-law, on this Corolla. And at the same time, I said, we should just start filming this and just throw it up on YouTube just for fun. And it kind of having somebody else to do it with pushed me over that edge. So the other person you see in a lot of my videos his name is Josh, and he is my brother-in-law. And so we kind of co-founded Boost Rodeo and just started the channel together.
So tell me a little bit about this Corolla. I know I've seen a few of the videos, and I know a buddy of mine who I've been teasing him back and forth here on text there tonight. And I think he's in the chat. Dustin would be very interested to know a little bit about this car. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the Corolla?
Sure. So it's showing right there. It's a 1981 TE72 Corolla, which is one of the last generations that was rear-wheel drive. It was the predecessor to the AE86, which a lot of people know, but it shares most of the drivetrain is very similar. It has the same McPherson suspension setup. A lot of the AE86 parts are interchangeable. But anyways, we picked up the car because we wanted something really cheap that we could rally because it's really hard on things. And we wanted a car that we could push to and past the limits without having a bunch of money sunk in it and being afraid of doing that. We wanted to just drive the thing without worrying about wrecking it and having fun. And so we went on a hunt for a rally car. It had to be rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. We wanted something that was reasonably reliable, somewhat light, easy to work on, cheap, all those things. And this popped up locally for like $500, and it ran. It was already halfway gutted, had a welded rear end. And we kind of picked it up thinking, man, this shell's pretty sweet. It's a rear-wheel drive. It's really light. It's small. This could work. And then once we blow the motor up, we could swap something else in it. After looking into it quite a bit, it's running a 3TC motor, which is an old 1.8 liter inline 4 Toyota motor. And it's just a 2-valve push rod motor. But there's guys who are making huge power out of these things. So we're actually pretty happy with the motor. I mean, in Puerto Rico, they've sold a ton of them. There's a lot of guys who run like 50 pounds of boost on these things and are running like 7-second quarter miles.
Well, Dustin has been teasing me about wanting to run his up against my my truck, and I keep trying to tell him that my 300 horsepower, potential 300 horsepower small block Chev will walk all over his 20 pounds of boost. And I don't dare say that I'm scared at all, not in front of him. I would never say that. Of course, he can't hear me right now either. I know on this particular car, you guys are running some boost. Where would you normally run your boost on this car?
Actually, this car is still NA, but we
it is? Okay.
Yeah, so this car is running just a Weber carb and a header is all it's got for mods, and then obviously it's stripped down. The thing that makes it actually pretty fun though is, I mean, it's probably making 85, 95 horsepower at the wheels. That's it. I mean, they only made like 75 from the factory with all the smog crap on them. But the car probably weighs 1,700 pounds or less right now, maybe 1,600. because it was only about 2,000 pound curb weight from the factory, and we've gutted it, no power steering, no AC, all that stuff. So they're really, really light. So, and boosted, I mean, these cars can haul. We've already got some plans in the work for our Corolla 2.0 project. And we've got a lot of things in store for that, including a cage and some upgrades that we think are going to be very necessary once this thing sees boost. But we're planning on only putting like probably 7 to 8 pounds on it to start with, just on a factory motor. And we figure that should double that 85, 90 horsepower output. So we should be in like the 170, 180 range.
So, Ryan, I know one of the other vehicles that makes an appearance in some of the more recent uploads is a pre-runner truck that you guys, I know the way you acquired it is a little bit of an interesting story, and I forget if it's either a Suzuki or a Mitsubishi.
It's a Mitsubishi Raider.
Okay.
And
tell us about that.
Yeah, this truck's got a really, really cool history. So this truck was actually the factory sponsored Mitsubishi race truck in 2006, and it won the Baja 1000 in its class. And then in 2007, it took third. And they were battling it out with Honda really heavily at the time that the Ridgeline had just come out. So this truck has a really big Baja heritage. After Mitsubishi dropped the Raider line, you know, they obviously didn't see a reason to sponsor the truck anymore. So they dropped the sponsorship and quit. And the truck was sold. And it was actually sold to Josh's uncle, who was a member of another race team, Fire Guys Racing. And he bought it just as kind of a toy, and they used it as a chase truck in Baja and a bunch of other races for their primary rig for a lot of years. And then it got parked, it kind of sat. And then unfortunately, his uncle, he was a wildland firefighter, he was a battalion chief, and he actually was killed returning from one of the major fires a couple years ago down in California. And so, you know, it was really sad. I know it hit Josh hard. Josh actually was the one when he was like, I don't know, 17, 18 years old, and Gary bought this truck. He actually drove up the 2.5 hours and bought it from Dan Fresh, who was the guy who built it with Mitsubishi, and trailered it back to Gary. So he had kind of a deep connection with this truck. And when Gary's wife was talking about the truck when they were down there for the funeral and stuff, he was kind of asking, well, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to save it for the kids or that? And she's like, no, I hate that thing. And he's like, what? And she goes, yeah, I hate that stupid truck. He was always working on it, and it's always taking up space in the garage. And she started going off, and she's like, why, you want it? It's yours if you want it. I know it actually means something to you. And he's like, yeah, I want it. So he rented a U-Haul trailer and trailered it back behind his SUV all the way from San Diego to Washington.
That is an awesome story. And you're going to have to fill me in a little bit here. Now, I don't claim to be stupid when it comes to cars, by no means. But in Canada, we did not have a Mitsubishi Raider, I don't believe.
Yep.
In the early 80s, or in the 80s and early 90s, of course, no, not even the 90s, I guess. We had the Dodge Ram 50, which was the Mitsubishi Raider of the day.
Yep.
But when we lost that and gained the Dakota, well, there was no Mitsubishi version of the Dakota here in Canada. So
it's interesting to see Dodge Dakota.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I was trying to get at, was I could see a lot of the similarities in the door pillars and the door handles and all that sort of thing, that it looks a lot like a Dakota. So does that run the 4.7 liter V8?
So this one's actually the 3.7, the V6, because to meet their classing, it had to be, I think, the smallest motor that was offered, because it was in the stock mini truck class.
All right. So basically it's a Dakota.
Yep. It's basically a Dakota with a different front end and some other little, nuances.
Nice.
Yeah, and I can see those. Oh, go ahead, Jason. Sorry.
No, go ahead. I was
just going to say, I could see those Dakota styling lines when Jason first brought that up, and I was like, okay, well, I already know it's not the Suzuki, since I know that's a GM and Suzuki have kind of had a thing there for a while. Or no,
we wish it had the V8 option. I mean, it'd be a lot more fun. But this truck wasn't made to get up and go, get going places fast. It was made to get up to like 100 miles an hour and just stay at 70 to 100 and just take all the terrain. So the suspension's really dialed. It's caged through the firewall from the nose into the engine bay all the way to the back bumper. It's a pretty impressive build.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about. Obviously, you come from a car background on both sides of your family. And I'm guessing that you're probably somewhere between Grant's and my age, somewhere in there. Our ages are very close, you know. So, what was your first vehicle as a teenager? Like when you got your license, what was the first vehicle that kind of got you into the I don't know, the fever of wanting to build cars or modify cars?
Couple part things. So the very first car that I can say that I technically owned was that Comet. My grandfather, I think, bought it. He had so on that side, we only had three of us. So he had three grandchildren. My cousin, she got a 66 Mustang coupe. My brother got a 66 Mercury Park Lane, and then he bought me the Comet. And so he bought the Comet last. He was just getting done doing some of the restoration when I was getting close to driving. So he actually he did all the exterior and interior restoration, so all the interior work, all the paint and body work. But drivetrain wise, it ran, but it was kind of rough. So when I was 15, he actually said, "Here, you get to finish this car." And so he handed it to me, and it needed a rear end rebuild. It needed the brakes gone through on all four corners. It ran, but the car just never really ran right. And so that was the first thing, was kind of working with him and my dad on those things, taking that car through. I didn't really get it drivable until I was like 17, close to 18, and actually drive it to school daily a little bit when the weather was nice. So my first true car that I drove every day was a Ford Ranger. And that was kind of the work truck. But I'd say the Comet kind of got me started. And then shortly after that, I got into Supras, and that was kind of the one that really sent it through the roof.
Yeah, it's too bad S&R Motoring aren't in the chat right now, so we could talk some. What is it? The NK. So I always forget the
Mark III. Yep.
Yeah,
yep.
2JZ designation. Yeah, we like those. They're great fans. So Ryan, one of the things we like to do on this show is always talking about YouTube growth hacks or struggles or any lessons learned, over the years. As we all have car niche channels, and we all learn different things, different times, through different ways. So, what's one piece of advice, or maybe something you're struggling with right now as it relates to your automotive related YouTube channel?
Man, it's great. It's hard to look back because there's just so much you learn from the time you start a channel. And I know I've had a ton of people ask me, like, do you have channel advice? I really want to start a channel. And so the list I usually go through is I tell them, first off, don't worry about your equipment. Don't worry about anything. Just start making videos. And no one is going to watch your first 5 to 10 videos. Just be prepared. No one's going to watch them, and it doesn't matter, because those videos aren't there to get views. They're there to learn what it takes to do a video, what it takes to edit, what it takes to think about it, get the mindset down. And every one of those is going to be infinitely better than the last one. And that's your goal. By the time you get to that 10th one, your quality should at least be okay. The next thing is just be prepared for it to take way more time than you ever imagined. I mean, you always watch YouTube and you think, oh, they're just out in the garage having fun and hanging out. But as we all know, whenever you're working on cars, it rarely goes as you plan. You think you're going to be out there for 3 hours, and it takes you all day. When you're filming it, instead of taking you 3 hours, it takes you 3 days, because the filming slows you down so much. You're getting takes of something, you're doing all this stuff, and then you got to go edit it. So for every, I tend to put a lot of production into my videos, and that's part of the reason that I don't get uploads out as frequently as I would like. But I like to tell people that usually for every minute on camera you see, I spend at least an hour editing. And that's after I found music and all the other things. So,
yeah. So I know that Dustin is in the comments, and he's saying he wants to hear more about the Corollas. But I've been trying to convince Dustin to put his channel together. He's bought a camera, he's got the vehicle. He's just got to pull the trigger and get started. And that's great advice for someone like him, who has content-worthy uploads or something to put up there. And I've said it before, no matter what you have, there's somebody out there that wants to watch it.
Exactly.
Right. So whether it's Corollas, whether it's C10s, whether it's Mustangs or Fairmonts, someone out there wants to see that content. So I encourage anybody who is in the chat, who is thinking about starting a YouTube channel. You heard it right from Ryan's mouth. Grant and I have both said it. You got to pick up that camera. You got to create that first video. You got to get started somewhere.
Yep, and you get over that fear really quick of being on camera and caring about what other people think. You just have to get over that and go for it. And like I said, the equipment really doesn't matter. I get asked all the time, what do I shoot on? And to be honest, I shoot on a Canon 60D, which is a 10-year-old camera. I have 0 autofocus when I put it in video mode. Everything is manually. I'm pulling focus on every shot I take. And most of 90% of like my good shots are done on a Canon 50mm 1.8, which is a $100 lens.
Yeah, I would say too, when you get to the spot where Ryan, Jason, and I are at, it always helps too. It's easy for us to say, please go find my first video and watch it, and you should feel better about what. I mean, mine I shot
horrible. And I mean, we were filming on our cell phone, and I had it vertical. That's how bad it was, just because I wasn't thinking about even filming. I was just like, well, let's just pick up the camera and catch that we're wrenching on this thing. So, and then I filmed, the other mistake I made is we shot like 4 or 5 videos worth before I edited the first one. So then I had 4 or 5 videos worth of footage that I'm like, oh, this is garbage when I go to edit it, but I had to just churn through it and get there. So.
Well, there's been a couple questions come through in the comments or comments come through in the comments, I guess I should say. Was first off, Snydertron 3000 said he's trying to corner, and he's trying to make a joke here. He says, I'm trying to corner the market on rusty short box truck viewers. And actually, don't make that out to be a joke. Honestly, when you get that far down, like Jason said, there's somebody out there interested in whatever you're working on, even a lifted Kia Sportage, as those Canadians would say. But like, actually don't feel embarrassed to get that far down into detail. Actually, they're saying that's actually doing better these days than trying to please everybody. So niche down like 3 different levels. So like the rusty short box truck viewers really is not a bad target audience to have.
And it's funny that the things you don't think people would like because it's just a beat up old truck, they love. Like the Corolla, we get a lot of attention because it's the cheapest race car we could find. And people are like, that's awesome. You guys are just having fun with it. And you didn't put any money into it. I have a buddy who has a square body. He's got one of the rare square body 4-doors. And it's like 7 colors. It's been put together from, 6 different trucks built this thing. And he started his own Instagram for it and stuff. And I took some pictures of the truck for him. And it just like blew up. Like people are loving this thing, but it's literally just an old beater, but it's amazing. Like it's the truck that most people have in their backyard, so they love it, you know?
Well, one of the other comments that came through was King Eric the Great the First. He's a big Mercury Cougar fan and was just curious if there were any updates on the Cougar that shows up in some of your videos.
And so that's my dad's. He's got a couple rigs around sitting too. He's got 37 International pickup that was also in the video. There's an old farm truck. He's got that Cougar. It does run. It's a 351 Windsor. It's a auto car. Needs some love, but it runs. He's going through the brakes right now and stuff. But he's just one of those guys. He's retired, but he's got way too many projects. So I don't know when it'll get around to actually getting body work done.
So at the beginning of the show, I did mention that the 3 of us were involved in the solo B-roll challenge. Just out of curiosity, I was just right there. I should have looked. How successful was that video for you in the form of views? Did it pull much into your channel?
No, it really didn't do much. I think I don't know, a couple hundred views. It was one of my lower videos.
Yeah, I mean, I think mine got about the same. It certainly didn't. We didn't reach that goal that we wanted to. One of the things that we sometimes will try and do is we'll try and do a shout out or a boost, if you want to play on words, of a certain channel. And obviously, you being a guest here on ours, was there a channel out there that got you motivated to start creating videos?
Yeah, there's a lot. The funny thing is, the more YouTube as soon as I started my channel, I actually started watching less YouTube. Did you guys notice the same thing? Like I struggle to keep up with the other channels that I like. Like I have to do a binge watch just to get caught up on people, I don't know, every couple weeks. So like I usually will do that to you guys. You guys might notice every once in a while you'll get like a slew of like 3 or 5 comments from me. And that's just because like, oh, I gotta go catch up with Grant or Jason, and so I'll just spend an hour and watch a bunch of your videos and get caught up just because I don't have time. And I struggle even with car channel videos. I find myself gravitating to non-automotive creators a lot just because I'm learning things. One of the huge ones was Peter McKinnon, obviously. I mean, he's probably the reason that I got so head over heels in love with just cinematics and really shooting at that level. And he's probably the reason that I've branched out and I shoot other stuff too. I've done some commercial projects and some weddings and some just stuff like that.
Go Canada.
Yeah, go Canada. Him and Maddie both.
Yeah.
That's a big one. I don't know. I'm trying to think of an auto channel. I liked Dustin Williams a lot just because I started watching him when he was a smaller creator. And so he's grown a lot. He's blowing up. Crispy Media is another one that I really look up to just because the work that dude puts in is amazing. I mean, that guy films 14 to 18 hours a day when he's on an event. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'll echo some of the things you said. I struggle with. I haven't really found. I guess I'm a really picky YouTube consumer. I haven't found a lot of automotive channels that just really entertain me front to back. Like, honestly, Jason, I've talked about it. It's always going to be a huge discussion. How long should your video be? Conversation, and there's no good answer for that. There never will be. There never has been. And the saying it only needs to be as long as it needs to be is the right answer. But like, if I see in the thumbnail that it's over like 12 minutes, I'm usually just moving on and not even watching. I don't consume YouTube like I would. Well, I was never really big like appointment TV person anyway until I got older. I found a few like NBC comedies I liked, like Parks and Rec. But other than that, like, I've never been like a appointment TV watcher. So it's really hard for me to find a YouTube channel, automotive, that really entertains me front to back past like 12 minutes. It's really hard for me to. So I totally understand everything you just said. Like, I mean,
I know certain creators like that too. Like, there's some, if I see they have a longer video, I'm like, they don't hold me long enough. If they have like a 5-minute video, I love them. And then there's other creators that I will watch like a 20-some minute video. I just thought of another, Grindhard Plumbing Co., who we actually did our second last video with. Those guys are amazing, and their videos always are really entertaining, but they're always like 20 minutes. But they hold people's attention. They just do a good job.
Well, and even a high production value like Turn and Rust, like, their stuff is beautifully shot.
Yep.
And most of their content averages above 20 minutes. I think 24 to even sometimes half an hour. But still, it's like, even without commercials, like, I'm like, well, I'm not going to park my ass for half an hour, even at the 1.25 speed, and I'm going to watch something through, even though like their stuff's shot really well.
Yeah.
And I love it, but
it's hard. We just don't have time for it. I mean, we're busy creating our own stuff, and then you got a job on,
Yeah.
YouTube's a full-time job on top of your full-time job if you're not full-time.
Well, exactly. And that's one of the things that I can relate to too, is the time that's involved for us to do what we do, whether it's huge production or whether it's minimal production to put a video together. It still takes time, like you mentioned. We did have a couple of questions or comments in the chat talking about when am I going to blow more stuff up. Well, if you guys are watching my channels regularly, you'll know that a couple weeks ago, or maybe it was last week, I made an announcement that I decided when I reach 5,000 subscribers, I am going to blow up another vehicle. So as of right now, I think I'm about 20 away from 3,000. So if you're in the chat right now and you're not subscribed, now is the time to go do that. Hit that subscribe button. Also check out Grant and Ryan because your support on their channels lets them know that that we're doing something right. So go ahead and do that, and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. So we're coming to a close here. We're getting ready to kind of wind things down a little bit, and we like to give everybody the opportunity to tell us a little bit about what's coming up on our channels. Ryan, why don't you just tell us maybe something that you've got kind of cooking for your channel right now?
So the next video that's coming out is kind of a big one. It's something we've had in a while. We just hit 1,000 subscribers on the channel finally. And
congratulations.
actually, thanks. I think we're in the same spot as you guys, where we're waiting on the watch time to catch up enough to get monetized now. So we're waiting there, but we actually blew right through 1,000. I mean, it was going slow, and I think we just hit it it's been weeks, not months, and we're already at, I think we hit 1,300 today. So our next one is kind of a 1,000 subscriber celebration, and it was a lot of fun to make. And let's just say the Supra needs new tires now.
Yes.
And my wife wasn't very happy when I told her we need new tires now. So I'm excited about that.
Well, so in the chat, I've put a link to Boost Rodeo's channel. So if you haven't checked them out, definitely go over there, click the link, take a look, see if it's the right stuff for you. And yeah, even if you don't subscribe, watch a video or two, find one that works for you, and leave a comment. That's what we like to do here. We want to grow everybody who's part of the chat. So again, if you guys are seeing channels in the chat that you haven't already subscribed to, check them out. Do the same thing. Find a video maybe that tickles your fancy. If it's for you, it's for you. Subscribe. If it's not, it's not. Not a big deal. Just go give them a shot. So channel update for me. I think the chat could probably guess what I'm going to be working on the Fairmont this weekend, but that's going to be more brakes, as I basically built in a in-place lathe for my rotors and the calipers here. So finally figured that out. But I'm at the point where I'm either going to move on with the front spindle setup and brake setup, or I've accepted the fact that I might do that. I might just go to a SN95 spindle setup and a whole new front rotor. So at that means I can't make the existing parts any worse than what they are. So I'm going to attempt to heavily modify them, give them one last shot, because if I got to throw them away, I'll throw them away because I ruined them, not because, like I said, I've already accepted the fact that I might be doing that anyway. So we'll give it one more shot. Jason?
I think that I'm going to put my fingers right up here in the camera so you can see it. I think you're that close to making that setup work that you already have. If your wheels are turning freely and you're just getting that slight amount of grind, it's just a matter of a small amount of clearancing and you will be fine. So just keep that in mind before you spend any more money on brakes and spindles and all that stuff. So
yeah, and that's kind of where my head's at. It's where my logic is. Somebody said that same thing. It's like, well, if they were that bad, the car wouldn't move. And I also think about it like, okay, so if you just took your hand like that and you tried to squeeze something, like you got really good clamping power like that, if you do that, you can't get as much clamping power. And so if my rotor's really dragging right on the caliper like it is, that I might get more clamping force out of the deal too. So
absolutely. So you guys know that I'm working on rebuilding a motor for Dale, and today my dad and I put together his motor for his car. So tomorrow, unfortunately I didn't film that. I did put some pictures up on Instagram though. We'll be putting that vehicle together tomorrow, hopefully have it running, and I will get some video of that. So on the weekend, we're going to plan on putting some videos together on the assembly process of that small block Chev that's going to kick Dustin Sable's ass at some point in time. So keep in mind, guys, that there's lots of videos coming from everybody, and we certainly would appreciate all the views that we can get. We understand that you can't get them all. So I think that this was a really great show, Ryan. It was really great having you along and explaining to some of our guys who may not know who you are, and maybe they've gone over and subscribed to your channel and they can binge watch all the exciting content and very cinematic, a lot of production value in those videos too. And that's one of the reasons why I enjoy watching your channel. So thanks for being a part of this tonight.
Thank you guys for having me on. This was a lot of fun. And even though the challenge we did was a flop, I had a lot of fun doing that. I still had fun making that video. So
yeah, I will say that none of us told each other what we were going to be shooting, what our content was going to be out. So it was really fun, at least for the four of us, to see what everybody came up with. And Ryan, I did yours. I think if I had to pick a winner out of the four, my vote would be going yours, because yours, I think, knocked it out of the park.
Thank you.
And I would have to agree, just simply because, I'm fortunate enough that I get to work with my dad every day, that when that camera shot panned across the dash and I saw that picture, which I assume was the picture of Dad, was it not, or was that your grandfather?
No, it was actually my grandpa.
Yeah, so at
the end, I
played
had
that emotional part.
Yeah, at the very end, I do. I panned down all the pictures, and those are actually pictures I have above my toolbox in my garage. But it's got a couple pictures of my grandfather and his cars. couple pictures of my dad, and then a couple pictures of my kids in this card now. So.
Yeah, so it played an emotional part, even though, like we said, the rule was keep it under a minute, and under that minute tugged at the old heartstrings over here. So it did more than just entertain. It was a great story with it as well. So again, thanks so much for helping us be a part of that. And I'm going to say thank you to everybody in the chat for jumping onto my channel this week. Don't forget, next week we're heading back over to Grant's for another episode of the CarrGuy and SixFan show. I'm going to say see you later. And I'm going to let Grant close us out.
Yeah, well, once again, thank you, Ryan, for coming on the show and being a part of Season 3 here on the CarrGuy and SixFan show. We did try to throw an opening for questions one last time to the live stream. King Eric the Great, the first, asked me when I was going to put a truck chassis under the Fairmont and lift it. Not anytime soon. We'll just leave it at that. So to sign off, we'll just say thanks again, everybody, for attending. That's going to do it for this week's episode of the CarrGuy and SixFan show. And until next time, peace out.
Bye.